What's up, guys? Welcome back to Viewer Castles. Just a reminder for everybody, make sure to add me to friends if you are on the Viewer Castle list or if you have requested to be a part of Viewer Castle so that I'm able to attack your castle. Today we're going to start off with Density. Castle levels of 22. Looks like probably validated on this mage here. So let's jump into it. Alright. So we're starting off with a couple mouse wheel traps. There's some mines on the other side of them. I'll just jump through. I just was trying to see if there was any fire mines or anything, so if there's fire mines on the other side, I have to be a little bit more careful. Mouse wheel traps by themselves don't do all that much damage, so, they're probably a little bit wasted for you right there, just because they don't really do anything for you. I'm not a big fan of mouse wheel traps anyway. They just don't do enough damage, and they, let people build up some stun immunity and stuff like that. Alright, so this trap here looks like it is four springboards. I'm not sure which way this first one's going to throw me, so I think my best option is to just barely hit the side of it here. And it looks like it's throwing me back this way, so I'll build up some stun immunity by hitting it twice, and then initially just go right back on, and I'll have so much stun immunity that I can just roll off of it, just like that. And then we've got a lot of stuff in the boss room with a spike trap trying to keep you inside. I've never been a huge fan of a ton of spike traps in the boss room, and I know a lot of people use them. And the only reason I'm not a big fan of it is because I don't think there's a huge reason to keep people like this far into the boss room to use that many points. I mean, it's quite a few points to put all of those spike traps in there, and only a couple of them are actually going to get into use. So let me finish this up, and I'll talk a little bit more about it. I think I mentioned it a couple weeks ago when I had a castle that was that had this same basic principle here. So basically, if I travel over the middle, you have, I guess it's only 8 points that aren't being used. I guess this one's not as bad. Some people put another row of spike traps here, and maybe even one in here as well. So this one's not as bad. But I feel like it's more important to try it's less important to try to segment the boss room itself, and more important to maybe try to keep people from going from like this area back to here, because I could have aggroed like the group here that was standing over here, and I could have pulled that back to maybe around here and fought, or tried to pull it back across this this springboard trap or something like that. And I think that's a little bit more dangerous than for someone to go from this area back into this area. I realize the idea here is to try to limit the amount of space that someone fights something inside of the boss room, but honestly, if you have ballista trap coverage in this general area, I'm not going to fight in here anyway. There's no reason why I would fight here when, this area is always going to be secure. You can always fight from like this area across to here, and pretty much never have any trap pressure back here. So this is really the zone that you have to fight in if you're going to go inside of the boss room and you're going to push your way through. If you're not going to push your way through the boss room and there's a couple of ballista traps, it's usually better to kite them backwards towards the front of the dungeon. You're never really going to stand in the middle area here and actually fight minions. At least I don't do that. So that's my 2 cents on that. Other than that, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward, like, mass units in the boss room and a fire trap setup, so not too much to say about those things. We'll jump into number 2 in just a second. Alright, next up we have swegblazinyolo. Cast levels 28, validated on a mage here. So let's jump right into it.
Let's go to work.
Alright, so this is pretty interesting. It's pretty easy for me to kite this backwards across this jelly wall, and even to just volley this area. And the reason why this works so easily is because, for some reason, minions are super scared of jelly walls. So I'm able to just kind of stand over here and attack, and not really have to fear anything. Any of your units attacking me. Alright, then there's this springboard setup here. It looks like this area... Nope, never mind, I was wrong. Okay, well I actually made it out of that because there's 5 springboards and I managed to get some stun immunity there. I thought that the first area didn't have a springboard on it, so I was just going to walk across, but I was completely wrong on that. Either way, I'll take a little closer look at this, see exactly what's going on here. Alright, so they're all facing forward, which is good, but there's 5 springboards. So basically, if I can show it one more time, what I did here. I'll try to wait for a little while to make sure the stun immunity goes away. So I'll just kind of stand in the corner for a few seconds. And as I think the stun immunity should be worn off. Basically, if you have 5 springboard traps like this, you can hit the first one on the very end of it, and you'll hit the 5th one as well. So you hit twice, and then you get stun immunity enough where I'm able to basically just walk on the stand, and then I get hit by that second one, and then I'm able to roll out of the way. And I actually did get hit by a couple of those ballistas there, but that's generally how I get across those when there's 5 springboards in a row like that. That's the main problem with having Mega Muttons and Defendatrons. If the Mega Mutton takes damage like that, he'll go to charge away from the Defendatron, and then he'll lose his little leash range kind of thing. So that's something to keep in mind when you're using Defendatrons and Mega Muttons. Usually when you're using Mega Muttons, you want to go for like healers if you're going to do that, like sustain, or if you want to just try to have them do damage, maybe some what do you call it? Some puppeteers. It looks like I think your IMAX is due for a level up, so you'll want to do that as quickly as possible if you're going to keep using him. I like the Jimbos. I think that's pretty neat. I'm actually going to be doing something like that in my new castle. Something like that with Jimbos, so I like that. And then once you get into the boss room, there's not a ton of trap pressure in here, so I can just kind of kite these pretty easily. This is a lot of units to deal with, but really there's nothing else there. The spike tunnel was good, and I like the thing with the Jimbos. I think maybe a different room for the Jimbos that kind of locks you in it a little bit better. You know, when I get thrown into this area with the Jimbos, if you had some other choke on the other side of this instead of your boss room, that was keeping me inside of this small area with Jimbos, might be a little bit more difficult for me. Alright, and then I'll kill off these mines just because targeted attacks can get me a little bit of loot. That'll pay for some potion costs. But that is pretty much it for this castle. So we will jump into number 3 in just a second. Alright, and lastly we have Gravebat, castle levels of 20. Validated again on the mage. Let's take a look here. It actually does make sense that you use 5 springboard traps for the last castle, by the way, because you're a mage. Mage's charge ability, the escape, is actually a little bit longer than archers, so that's kind of why that works. It'll work for mages, but it won't work against archers. It's kind of weird like that. In the same way as if you use 4, actually got hit by that, if you use 4 springboards, a mage will be able to walk over it without too much trouble. So yours is kind of geared for mages because you're a mage, which makes a lot of sense actually. Kind of unfortunate that your IMAX kind of spoiled the surprise there with the fire mines that you had. Although, when you see that many mines, you should be looking out for these springboards. There's a little hole right here that I can kind of just walk through. So I mean, clearly this could be set up slightly better. Maybe a better choice of rooms so that you could actually have a hallway that's full of springboards like this. Because with just a small area like this that I can kind of walk over, it's a little bit too easy for me to get away from taking damage from the fire mines. Alright, here we have another one of these. I've been seeing this more and more where people are spacing these out just by one hexes, because it's almost impossible for me to time a roll to actually land right on this 1x1 hex. If I am able to, then you know I'm in a pretty good spot to do that, but it's kind of interesting. What I do think, and I think I'm high enough level where I won't die even if I do get hit by all of these fire mines, so I will try it. But what I think is if I hit this very end right here, I should get, yeah, pushed by the second one there. So it's the same basic principle as the last castle, is that if you have too much space, you know, these 2 hexes are basically 1 more springboard trap. So it's the same as having 5 springboard traps here. And if you just hit the very end, and then get hit on the very end on this one, so you basically started off here, and you land right around here, and it pushes you on top, you'll be able to have enough stun immunity that you'll get up before the fire mines go off, and just roll out of the way. So for archers, if you want to kill off archers, you have to have 4 that are all right next to each other, and that's the only way it'll really work. Actually, for anybody. That's the problem is, even though mages are longer and you need 5 to do that, mages can do the same thing by stepping on the very end and getting a little bit of stun immunity. It kind of works the same way, so really the only people who are going to be affected heavily by fire mines are going to be archers and knights. Because I think I don't know how long knights charges, but I don't really see knights using it all that often, so. You know, with that being said, it's just like, you have to, what am I trying to say? You have to figure out kind of what you want to do with that. I mean, if you use 5, it's only going to it's going to only work against people who don't know that you can stand on the very end and get thrown and get some stun immunity off of it. People who don't know that, it'll work, but if you use 4, it should work a reasonably good amount of time against archers, and even against mages, they'll have to walk to the very end of the jelly wall and then go over it to be able to escape without harm. So I mean, it's still some ballista trap damage and stuff like that. Anyway, this is number 3, so we're going to end the video. As always, if you guys enjoyed, please subscribe. If you want to be a part of Eurocasts, you can email me at frenzycastleruns@hotmail.com. Also, you have to add me to your friends list because I have to use a targeted attack to attack people's castle now. I'm going to be backed up. There's not much that I can do about that now. I can't do 2 a day because I can only do literally 3 castles a day, and then I'm out of targeted attacks. So there's not much I can do about that. I guess I'm probably going to only be taking level 20 and above after the list that's currently out right now goes away. Then I'm probably going to only take level 20 and above. That way it'll at least keep the numbers down a little bit so that people can request me to run their castle a little bit more often. Also, like, sub level 20, there's not too much available for you to do. Even sub like level 22. 22 I think is when you start getting the necessary upgrades to kill people. Even more so. I mean, there are some situations where you'll kill people early on. I'm not going to say you can't win a defense early on like that, but there's a lot more kill potential at level 22 with Fire Mine upgrade and the Springboard upgrade that both come into play at that time. You can start to like get over 50%, maybe even over 60 and 70% win rates when you have that. So anyway, that's going to end the video. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time.